Dashing through the snow doesn't necessarily follow the usual holiday formula, but in it avoiding that, it does require some getting used to that some may not give it the grace for. So, to summarize the film, when Eddie was 8 years old, his parents were on the verge of divorce. So, when he saw Santa at the mall, he talked to him about what his dad would want for Christmas, how he wanted Santa to set it up so that maybe his mom would think that he got it for his dad. But unfortunately for Eddie, Santa tricked him into giving his address, and unfortunately, Santa robbed his family. And on the night of Christmas Eve, and Eddie's father fighting off Santa and his mother getting involved so that Eddie's father didn't do too much, that seemed to be the final straw and led to the divorce. Fast forward 30 years, Eddie is now a father to a young lady named Charlotte, and similar to his dad, he's on the verge of divorce coming up to Christmas because he's a workaholic. Now, as to what kind of work Eddie does, he's a social worker who works with the, I believe, Atlanta Police Department. It's been a while since I saw this movie. And on Christmas Eve, he finds himself getting involved with a man named Nick. Now, being that Eddie works with the homeless and people who are a little bit off, even though Nick says he's Santa Claus and is dressed up like him, he assumes that Nick is just somebody that's off. However, in time he learns Nick is actually Santa Claus, and it forces Eddie to reconcile his feelings about Christmas, work, family, with this man who is trying to present to him that there is an alternative to the way that he's held on to for 30 years. So in terms of highlights, every year we watch maybe a dozen or more holiday movies, mainly from OWN, BET, places like that. So to find this on Disney Plus, it was kind of weird, especially when you consider Dashing Through the Snow does not necessarily fit the Disney vibe. This is not like the Santa Claus, anything like that. Eddie is somebody who hates Christmas because his family got robbed on Christmas Eve, and Santa robbing his family led to a divorce. That's not Disney. And then when you add on to the fact that he's potentially having a divorce soon, he has a relationship with his kid, but it seems a little bit off because, of how he acts as a father and is very absent. Yet at the same time, even though he doesn't really like Christmas, he's not a Scrooge, so they really push that he's a good social worker. And then when you add in Lil Rel being Nick, who's this ball of energy and giddiness, it's a lot. And granted, a part of me appreciates that Disney Plus is kind of stretching itself a bit, and they didn't just kick this off onto Hulu or something like that, since this is, again, not necessarily a Disney Plus vibe, because, you play a DMX song, and I don't really think DMX, I think Disney Plus, but again, it seems somebody wanted to do something different, and we appreciate with Dashing Through the Snow, it gave us something that focused on this man healing his wounds when it comes to his parents' divorce, his association with Christmas to something traumatic, and even pushed him to really try to be a better father, a better husband, and show that he has a potential to do so. It's just maybe like his father, in order to be a provider, he forgot how to be a proper husband and parental figure. With that said, for the on the fence topics rather than this topic, I have to admit, I didn't fully understand how Eddie became the husband he did, considering the precedent that his father set. If he can remember his father beating up Santa when he was 8 years old and that being the final straw in his parents' marriage, I would assume he can remember how his parents' relationship became so strained with his father not around much. So why exactly did he repeat the same pattern that his father did? Kind of had me lost. Then, unfortunately, on top of the whole issue of the trauma, or maybe even PTSD that Eddie has regarding Christmas, his wife potentially leaving him, and maybe him being at the beginning of his relationship with his daughter souring because he's not there like she needs him to be. They throw in all this nonsense in terms of Nick accidentally taking a tablet from a corrupt congressman, and a congressman sending his stooges in order to get Nick, possibly torture him to find out where the tablet is of all their illegal doings. And if there was a reason why I could understand why people don't like this movie, it's probably the whole congressman stooge and their illegal doing thing, because it just felt so unnecessary considering all that Eddie already had going on in his life. But I guess you can argue that him being involved with Nick, the easiest way for that to happen would be this whole mix-up of a tablet, rather than just, cutting all the stupid stuff and just have it where, Nick is apparently hundreds if not thousands of years old and he's just starting to learn how to use the tablet, and maybe that's what led to him kind of messing up or whatever. But the production is already finished, so there's no fixing it. But again, the congressman and stooge thing, considering how much was going on, just felt like overkill. Overall, it definitely feels like Dashing Through the Snow knew what was required of a holiday movie, but it decided to take risk in a very risk-averse genre that, in some ways, I felt did pay off. But because of some of the tried and true ways that it tried to stick with what the genre often has people expecting, it unfortunately led to kind of a lopsided production that teeter-tottered between being good and like too much, and it led to the end result of it being, for a lot of people, at least from what I've seen online, maybe not received the best.